A big party for Canada at an extraordinary moment in this country. Tonight, Canadians come together in a show of pride and defiance.
I have never been prouder to say, I am Canadian.
A surge of patriotism from coast to coast to coast. It's emotional and deeply personal.
We are blessed to be Canadians because this is a great country.
Flags and elbows are up.
We're still Canada, and we always will be.
The reality of Canada Day under the cloud of a trade war.
Hang in there. I think there are a lot of Americans that support Canada.
The view from south of the border. And why Ryan Reynolds says Canada will never be the 51st state.
I mean, I find that silly. I mean, only because that would be impossible.
Reflections from a star on a country he loves.
From CBC News, this is The National with David Common.
Thanks for joining us, and happy Canada Day. Adrian is on assignment. Canadians are hitting their celebration stride this July 1st, leaning right into what they love about this country after months of insults and threats flying across the border. From breakfasts to ballparks, performances to parades, Canada is awash in red and white. Many of those celebrating saying they feel patriotic this year in particular. In the nation's capital, the party was an all-day affair, one that, as Olivia Stefanovich shows us, was full of music and some memorable moments.
Happy Canada Day!
No matter how long you've been Canadian, this year's celebration unlike any in recent memory.
People have to show that conscious effort of togetherness and unity.
A renewed sense of patriotism. 158 years since Confederation, but a Canada Day of firsts. The first since Donald Trump's threats of annexation.
I have never been prouder to say, I am Canadian.
The first with this new Prime Minister.
And what we've seen is really is the country coming together, and the great pride that we see in Canada here in Ottawa.
Diantha Ray Edmonds.
And the first time this Canada Day ceremony included investing people into the Order of Canada, including movie star Ryan Reynolds, who became an officer and had a special surprise for a family from Hamilton, Ontario.
We're just proud to be Canadian. I don't even listen to the noise that anyone in the States makes.
Reynolds also brushing off that noise.
This country is so strong and fortified in and of itself that any idea that it might be annexed by somebody to me is kind of silly.
Today is truly a celebration of you, your home, in your land, strong and free.
For those new to this country, it's also a time of gratitude.
Canada is a place that kind of brings everyone together, like different cultures, different people, different nations. So yeah, that gives a lot of pride to belong to something much bigger than myself.
And a time to celebrate Canada's heroes.
It's very emotional. Terry was here at this time 45 years ago.
Terry Fox's brother Daryl is cycling across the country to mark the 45th anniversary of the Marathon of Hope.
Proud is not enough. It's not a big enough word to describe how I feel to be here and to be Canadian. I'm very, very proud.
Pride on Canada Day, a collective feeling, but also one that comes with personal meaning. Olivia Stefanovich, CBC News, Ottawa.
Of course, Ottawa wasn't hosting the only party. Karen Pauls takes us across this country where at gatherings big and small, people mark this day with an eye to Canada's past and its potential.
Newfoundland's Signal Hill as the morning breaks on Canada Day, acknowledging a flawed history and a commitment to keep improving.
Let Canada Day not only be a time of flags and fireworks, but a call to recommit ourselves to the values of truth, justice, and community.
It's the first Elbows Up Canada Day.
Frankly, Canada should be the 51st state.
Canadians angered by U.S. President Donald Trump's annexation threats, canceling U.S. vacations and buying local. Some hit hard by the tariff war, yet staying defiant.
When you threaten Canadians, we are elbows up.
We're full force, we're out there, we're on the world stage saying, no, this is the true north, strong and free.
Free and proud. While some still grapple with long-standing tensions, in Quebec,
Canada Day is a complicated situation for me because it's kind of founded on the basis of colonialism, but I do like how everyone comes together.
And Alberta, where a wave of patriotism lives side by side with an undercurrent of alienation.
Been here for 15 years.
A transplant.
And I love it here. I would never go back, and I actually believe Alberta should separate.
We are originally from the Philippines, and we are blessed to be Canadians because this is a great country.
Celebrations, too, in the north, where many are grappling with Arctic sovereignty, Indigenous self-determination, resource development, and climate change.
I swear that I will be faithful.
Still, a reminder of what Canada stands for through the eyes of a new citizen.
I feel happy to receive a citizen Canadian.
Thank you to Canadian government for giving immigrants opportunity.
Canadians from coast to coast to coast coming together to celebrate a unique identity and national pride. Karen Pauls, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Now, as you saw, among the many Canadians celebrating today was Ryan Reynolds. Adrian caught up with him in Ottawa to talk in part about what makes Canada special for him.
Is there a place or a moment where you feel most Canadian?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. I think Capilano River in British Columbia, that place is really special to me.
He also spoke about being appointed an officer of the Order of Canada. We're going to have their full conversation in about 20 minutes. Canadians are also celebrating in the U.S. tonight, many acknowledging these are difficult times, some letting that fuel their patriotism. Katie Simpson now with what Canada Day looks like in America's capital.
It seems about right that a major storm rolls into Washington for Canada Day. The nasty weather underscoring the tension resonating through the Canadian embassy.
I've had, I don't know how many messages today from my American contacts and friends say, Happy Canada Day, we appreciate you, we like you, we love you, we're gonna get through this. So there is definitely a feeling like that's not really normal to get that kind of a message.
Ambassador Kirsten Hillman, Canada's chief negotiator with the U.S., acknowledges the relationship needs to get to a better place. It's a constant challenge amid evolving threats from the U.S. president. Donald Trump's views on trade and security have hardened, with few in his administration willing to question his decisions.
I think that even last time he was president, there were many advisors around him that tempered his vision, and that's different now.
Canada Day at the Embassy is normally a light-hearted party where Canadian staples are served to hundreds of guests. This year, displays of Canadian patriotism were met by apologetic Americans.
Hang in there. I think there are a lot of Americans that support Canada and agree with the Canadian viewpoint, don't necessarily support how the U.S. is treating Canada.
I would suggest that fundamentally, there's no problem in the relationship. It's bluster talk, and although I'm embarrassed by it as an American on some levels.
That kind of message is welcome as tensions persist.
What is it like to be a Canadian living in the United States in this moment?
It's challenging, honestly. Challenging and disappointing, but it's also galvanizing. Because Canadians are incredibly strong, there has been significant pushback, and I think that that's a credit to Canadians.
Canada-U.S. trade and security talks are expected to resume this week, the first face-to-face meeting since Canada made that major concession by dropping the planned digital services tax. Ambassador Hillman calls it an act of good faith on Canada's part.
Okay, but Katie, are we expecting any concessions from the Americans in return?
At this point, no, at least not publicly. And this marks a change in strategy by the Canadian government. Under Prime Minister Trudeau, concessions happened near the end of trade talks and were largely rooted in the fact a deal was imminent. Canada hopes that there will be a deal reached by July 21st, but this administration is more unpredictable than Trump's first.
All right, Katie Simpson in Washington, thank you as always. Now to another escalation in the budding feud between Donald Trump and Elon Musk, with Trump now threatening to turn the department Musk once led against him.
I think what's going to happen is DOGE is going to look at Musk. And if DOGE looks at Musk, we're going to save a fortune.
Trump's comment came after Musk sharply criticized the U.S. president's marquee spending bill, which is currently working its way through Congress. Musk again threatened to form a new political party if it passes, whereas Trump says he might look into whether the Tesla CEO should be deported. Soon after, Trump went on a tour of what his administration is calling Alligator Alcatraz, a newly constructed immigration detention center in an isolated Florida airfield. The makeshift prison camp is surrounded by swamps and dangerous animals. Officials say it will be able to hold up to 5,000 people once completed. Jurors in the Diddy Combs trial have been ordered to continue deliberating after informing the judge they're unable to reach a verdict on 1 of 5 counts. So far, jurors have reached verdicts on 2 counts each of sex trafficking and transportation to engage in prostitution. They will continue deliberating the racketeering charge tomorrow. Combs has pleaded not guilty to all charges. If convicted, he could face life in prison. There's an urgent call tonight from more than 100 NGOs to change how aid is delivered in Gaza. They say Palestinians are left with an impossible choice: starve or risk being shot. Tom Perry explains why, beginning with some scenes that may be difficult to watch.
Along with bullets and bombs, the constant fear in Gaza, hunger and disease. 7-year-old Amal became ill a year ago. She doesn't eat, she only has milk to keep her going, says Amal's mother Asma Al-Bayuk. Her doctor says Amal needs special supplements and further treatment, while others in Gaza simply need food.
Every day we are receiving nearly 10 cases by malnutrition.
Israel has sidestepped the United Nations to deliver aid to Gaza, alleging too much ends up in the hands of Hamas, something the UN denies. Israel relies on the newly formed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, or GHF. It hands out food at 4 sites in zones controlled by the Israeli military.
We're seeing Palestinian civilians being massacred every single day since this new scheme kind of has come to life.
Oxfam is one of more than 170 NGOs demanding Israel end what they call its deadly distribution scheme. Since GHF began operating in May, the UN says more than 400 people have been killed by Israeli troops near the group's distribution centers.
The scenes that we're witnessing, the scenes, that I'm hearing from my colleagues, I've got family in Gaza, are just nothing short of horrifying.
GHF accuses its critics of a smear campaign. Israel's military says it will investigate allegations of civilians being harmed, sparking a cynical response inside Gaza. The Israeli occupation always lies, says Khalid Shad. This all comes as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu prepares to travel to Washington next Monday to meet with U.S. President Donald Trump. Trump says Netanyahu wants to end this war and predicts a deal could come next week. Tom Perry, CBC News, Jerusalem.
Much of Europe is still sweltering tonight. A heat wave is closing schools and part of a major tourist attraction. And it's not just temperatures on land that are warmer than normal. Chris Brown explains from London.
Europe's landmarks and the people visiting them are cooking to the point that the top of the Eiffel Tower had to be shut down.
Earlier we thought that we would be going up the stairs for the second floor, but we won't do that. We will skip that.
To be honest, I don't think we actually mentally came prepared that it was going to be so hot in Paris.
Paris clocked in at a high of 42 degrees Celsius, but the code red heat alert covered the entire country, forcing more than 1,700 schools to close. Spain, which recorded its hottest ever June, hit 46 degrees in the country's southwest. Barcelona repurposed its libraries, turning them into air-conditioned climate shelters. The heat wave also baked southern England, sending people to the countryside for relief, with those in London seeking shade wherever they could find it.
It kills me when I'm in London. I'm sweating, I've had 3, 4, 5 litres already this morning.
Heat waves like this in Europe are no longer exceptional. They're happening earlier in the summer and are more intense than ever. One reason is the Mediterranean Sea. A big temperature driver isn't cooling off in the winter like it used to. Scientists say the water temperature in June was 3 to 6 degrees higher than the 40-year average.
We've seen temperatures we were expecting in middle of August being recorded in June.
Europe's blistering heat goes far beyond inconvenience. In western Turkey, 50,000 people have been evacuated because of forest fires. And in Germany, Spain, and Italy, outdoor work has been curtailed because some workers were collapsing. Chris Brown, CBC News, London.
There are questions tonight about what caused an early morning explosion in downtown Yellowknife. This is the end result. Neighbors say it happened around 2 a.m. It was so powerful it shattered windows across the street and sent what appeared to be pieces of a boat flying into a nearby tree. Witnesses say one person was injured. No word yet on a cause. While Canadians across the country celebrate Canada Day, in Quebec, it's also Moving Day. Most residential leases end June 30th, but many people in the province are still searching for housing. As Jayla Bernstein explains, they're feeling the pinch of rising rent.
Finding an apartment in Montreal, not what it used to be.
It's a rough market out there. You really have to be competitive. You have to be quick to answer, ready to give money over as soon as you can. Okay, add it to my stockpile.
In a city long considered renter-friendly, rents are going up. This 3-bedroom is $2,100 a month, far more than they paid when they used to live in Montreal, but less than their last place.
We live an hour and a half away from Toronto. We thought we would be paying cheaper prices, and actually we were paying probably double what we were paying here.
While many Montrealers spent the day moving in, others were left scrambling. More than 2,000 households in the province are still looking for a home, and community organizations are answering those calls for help.
There is a possibility that they will be hosted in hotels, but they can also be at friend's house, parents' house. We know that some people will choose camping, sleeping in their car as possibilities also.
According to Statistics Canada, rent in Montreal jumped nearly 71% between 2019 and 2025. The average monthly rent, now $1,900, less than Vancouver's $3,000 average and Toronto's nearly $2,700 average, but still a big surge.
That moniker of rent-friendly housing in Montreal is not true. It's gone.
The rent increase we can.
The Quebec Landlord Association says rising interest rates, booming immigration, and slow construction created the perfect storm.
I'm myself a landlord, and I know in my tenants, some tenants who are very vulnerable.
The good news, prices stabilized in the last year, and more social housing is being built. It's hope for the future, but not an answer for those in need right now. Jayla Bernstein, CBC News, Montreal.
July 1st may be the start of NHL free agency, but it was a Canadian basketball star who made the biggest deal today. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, known as SGA, has reportedly agreed to a 4-year, $285 million extension with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, if it confirmed, he would be making the highest annual salary in NBA history. SGA led the team to its first championship last month, capturing the finals MVP along with it, a first for a Canadian. A growing number of young Canadians find themselves thrust into caregiver roles for family members struggling with illness or disability.
This isn't like normal. I am doing things that are like a bit beyond what I should be doing.
Growing calls for better support as a young generation is faced with an aging population. Next. Plus, a special Canada Day for actor and philanthropist Reynolds as he becomes an officer of the Order of Canada.
This is a huge deal for me. I mean, it's as big as it gets, I think. So I can't really underline enough how valuable and the meaning I've attached to it.
Adrian speaks to the Deadpool star about this latest honor. And later, the country's national dish gets propelled to new heights.
I got approached to create a cheese curd flinging device.
A unique take on a Canadian classic. We're back in 2.
Que deviens-tu si tu nies toujours à la fin, plus d'une fois, 2 fois.
Another scene from the party in Ottawa tonight as Quebec's Cour de Pirate belted her new single, Cavale, to lead off a series of French performances. Thousands of people were in attendance at Le Breton Flats Park, just one of many celebrations that happened across the country. There are calls tonight to better support young Canadians tasked with caring for ill or aging relatives. As Jennifer Yoon explains, as these young caregivers look out for loved ones, it's taking a toll on their own well-being.
Since she was 7, Najia Rahman's been caring for her mom, who has ALS.
Sometimes I would try to help her with the wheelchair, but it was a lot bigger than me. 1, 2, 3.
Now 17 years old, Rahman says she's only just realizing her responsibilities aren't so ordinary.
Like, oh yeah, this isn't like normal. I am doing things that are like a bit beyond what I should be doing.
About 1.5 million people between the ages of 15 and 30 look after loved ones with long-term health problems. Studies suggest they're at higher risk of mental health challenges, social isolation, and falling behind in school.
Caregivers might not even realize that they are caregivers until there starts to be detrimental effects to their mental health or their well-being.
This 18-year-old has seen it firsthand, caring for his ailing grandfather.
I felt both proud to be looking after someone that I really, really care about, but also I was feeling quite overwhelmed.
The experience inspired him to co-author a recent case study in the journal Canadian Family Physician, urging family doctors to identify young caregivers and help them get support. But others say it's not just up to family doctors.
And I've seen some young carers just kind of break down and cry.
This internal medicine specialist treats complex and chronic diseases. She says seemingly simple tasks, doctors and nurses writing notes for school absences or talking through anxieties about prognosis, can really help.
I think all healthcare providers can provide, can recognize, can play a role and recognize and support young caregivers.
She says Canada could also learn from the UK's approach. Young caregivers' rights are enshrined in the law there, and they're entitled to help like respite care. Jennifer Yoon, CBC News, Toronto.
A controversial pioneer of Christian televangelism in the U.S. has died.
The greatest weapon your enemies can use against you is the lie.
Jimmy Swaggart preached the gospel for over 7 decades. He began broadcasting radio sermons in the 1960s and became one of the first televangelists. By the 1980s, Swaggart's broadcasts were seen in more than 100 countries, but his huge audience dwindled following a major sex scandal after he was caught on camera with a prostitute in New Orleans. Swaggart had been in critical condition for weeks after going into cardiac arrest. He was 90 years old. Last year, medical issues forced singer-songwriter Sarah McLachlan to postpone a major tour and rest her voice. But now, the Grammy and Juno Award winner is back and performing at the National Canada Day celebration.
Does that experience change your relationship with your voice?
I think it makes me recognize the fragility of it and how much I relied on it for my sense of self-worth and purpose in this world.
Adrian speaks with the celebrated songstress about her return to the big stage. That's next. Plus, Ottawa promises to fast-track energy infrastructure projects, but critics worry those words won't translate into action.
I see the politics, I hear the politics, but I just don't see the substance.
Can Canada clear its own hurdles in the push to become an energy superpower? The National breaks down the story shaping your world next. Canadians gather in the nation's capital to celebrate their true north, strong and free.
We love this country. It's a great place to be, and elbows up.
Canada is the best country in the whole world.
Dozens of extraordinary Canadians were appointed to the Order of Canada, including some Hollywood star power.
Ryan Reynolds.
Vancouver-born Ryan Reynolds was honored for his on-screen work and work with several charities. Now, before that moment on stage with the Governor General, Adrian caught up with the actor. They spoke about what this moment means for him personally and how he responds to questions about the 51st state.
We're talking about great Canadians. Let's spend some time with one. Ryan Reynolds, I'm Adrian Arsenault.
Adrian, hi,
nice
how
to
are
meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
Congratulations, because you are, pretty soon, you're going to go up there.
Yeah.
You're going to be made an officer of the Order of Canada.
Yeah.
In this country, there aren't many higher honors you can give somebody. No. And when you go and talk to your kids, what's the story you're going to tell them about this?
I don't pretend that my kids can fully understand this. It's like kind of a, Canada to me is a culmination of a lifetime of meaning, and I've always considered Canada kind of like a third parent to me, and I think it's something they'll maybe understand later in life. But, they do understand that I've demanded to be called Officer Dad, which they've completely neglected in their duty to say. But honestly, at the end of the day, this moment, I think, was designed exclusively to make mothers faint, and they've done that in spades with my mom. Yeah.
So is that to say then that when you head up there, your mom is on your mind? Do you have a sense of what you'll be thinking about?
I'm thinking about, there's so many people that matter who put me on that stage. And I'm not talking about showbiz and that kind of stuff. There's people that I've worked with for years at the Sick Kids Foundation, the people like Marie Delorme, who, has helped me navigate some of the Indigenous issues that face so many communities across Canada. And, people who aren't necessarily always up on the stage like that, who get, so you try to hold that kind of, it keeps your feet on the ground a little bit. These are people that do that every single day, and I get a lot of pats on the back because of my other job. But I think a lot about those people. And then I also think just that this is what a moment, to try to take it in and look around and not just let it pass by, really drink it in. I'm old enough to appreciate it now, I think. So.
You know what I'm curious about? Often we talk to people and talking to Americans, right now you get the joke, right? Hey, the 51st state stuff, it's just a joke. It's sometimes, it's hard to know how to navigate it. So when people say that to you, like how do you handle that?
Well, you said it right there, a joke, and I understand that some people don't find it to be a joke, but I process almost all tragedy and trauma through the prism of humor. It's just a crappy coping mechanism that I have. So, I find that silly. Only because that would be impossible. That would be an absolutely impossible task to try to turn this wonderful place into a state.
Do you find yourself telling them that, or do you just sort of change the conversation and move away?
It is so absurd that it's never come up for me. Well, I don't think anyone would bring that up to me, especially me.
Because you're a big guy.
No, I don't mean that. I just mean, yes, unblinking violence is my nature. But no, it's that I think they know the love I have for Canada. Look at any interview I've ever given on any show ever. So, no, it never comes up for me.
Is there a place or a moment where you feel most Canadian?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. I think Capilano River in British Columbia, that place is really special to me. And when Wrexham was playing the Whitecaps was a very unusually surreal moment for me. And immediately after the match, we went to Capilano River, my daughter and I, and that's a place that I've gone to since I was little. Almost every day after school, I'd go there. So that's where I feel, I think, most at home, which I associate with Canada. So.
Last question for you. This Officer of the Order of Canada, does it come with strings attached? Like, can we keep you?
Please, you don't have to keep me. You have me. Canada is this is a huge deal for me. I mean, it's as big as it gets, I think. So I can't really underline enough how valuable and the meaning I've attached to it is so significant. But it's also, again, for all those folks who day in, day out, do the real stuff. There's those people who could choose so smart at Sick Kids Foundation. They could choose any career path they want, and this is what they do every single day. And I think a lot about those folks. So I want to break my little Order of Canada into a million little pieces.
Please stop. The paperwork would be terrible.
It would be absolutely terrible, and I would immediately ask for a whole one again. Look what happened.
You're a good sport.
Thank you so much.
Reynolds,
I appreciate
thank
it.
you very much.
Well, another officer of the Order of Canada, Sarah McLachlan, is part of the festivities in Ottawa tonight. Adrian and Elamine Abdul-Mahmoud spoke with her earlier about her music and her love of Canada.
We have another great Canadian. I mean, the kid in me is pinching herself because Sarah McLachlan is right here. Who's going to be on that stage very soon, but you're taking some time to speak with us. Thank you.
So happy
Thank
to
you.
be here.
I know we're fighting this great music, and I think we want to bop around.
We'll figure it out. That and I'm old, so I can't hear
Me
anything.
too. So it's summer. It's
beautiful. It's the perfect day or perfect evening.
It's a big stage, big crowd. Does this feel like home to you?
Well, the last time I played Ottawa, I think I played here. And as soon as I walked in backstage, I'm like, I know exactly where I am. Yeah, and I remember it being an incredible audience. And the energy, all day, I've been walking around all day, and in this city, and the energy is so great and so positive. And I love to see, most importantly, all the red. I'm wearing red tonight, so
I wasn't going to ask.
I brought no clothes with me, so I had to go buy something quick and dirty, but I have a lovely dress on. But I love that all this red. There's so much Canadian unity and Canadian pride shown here today, and I just love it. I love being part of it.
Nice. You know that people were worried about you with your voice.
I was worried about me with my voice.
I bet you were. You went on vocal rest, and I'm not trying to make you shout over the music here, but does that experience change your relationship with your voice?
I think it makes me recognize the fragility of it and how much I relied on it for my sense of self-worth and purpose in this world. And the idea of it being taken away from me was really scary. But I also had to look at, it's a first world problem. I still have all my limbs, I'm still healthy, and I'm very, very thankful that it came back. So I did everything right, and it's this funny little muscle that is so fragile that, I had a couple of nasty viruses, I worked it too hard, and I damaged it. So I just had to not talk for 3 or 4 months, which was incredibly hard for me. No kidding.
I don't think I can handle that, not at all.
Yeah, it was hard.
I'll tell you this, the last time that I saw you perform, it was June 2023, Joni Mitchell Jam in Echoes of the Canyon just outside of Seattle, Washington.
Yeah.
And what really struck me with that moment, Sarah, it was you sitting next to Joni Mitchell, on the other side, Alison Russell. I was like, this is a Canadian stage. I mean, I understand that there are other people here, but really this is sort of like a Canadian moment. What do you make of the fact that our greats, the people that we look up to, like Joni, I mean, they are representing this country. How do you think about yourself as a representative of the country?
Well, I'm a very proud Canadian. I've lived here my entire life. I wouldn't live anywhere else. I love this country. I think we have a lot of things to work on and a lot of things that we could do better, but we do a lot of things really well. And I think particularly in this political climate, I feel like we've really grown together as a country, and I really love seeing that.
Of course, also at that show, one of those performances was staged for a documentary that you have coming up, and that's a particularly exciting thing to talk about because Lilith Fair celebrating an anniversary and also celebrating a documentary. What's it like looking back at that period of time?
Incredible. I just watched one of the final rough cuts, and I was filled with such an immense sense of pride for everything that we had accomplished. It was such a group effort. It was not my thing alone. The success of Lilith was because all these other artists agreed to participate and be part of it, and this whole beautiful community was built. And the industry was changed, and it was fantastic.
And you're going to have another generation of young girls and women who learn about Lilith Fair and learn about you in some ways through that dog.
I'm excited about that, and I think one of the sort of interesting things that came out of that was a lot of stuff on social media about young women saying, I had no idea about this is so cool. And Olivia Rodrigo talking about how these are all the women I've grown up listening to and respect, and I had no idea this was happening. I so wish, I could have been part of that. So it was very cool.
Sarah McLachlan, thank you.
My pleasure.
We heard you rehearsing I hope that's okay. We were listening.
Of course,
we were listening.
yeah.
It's fantastic,
I'm so
and it's going to be
happy
great.
to be here.
Right on. Have fun.
My pleasure.
Thanks, Sarah McLachlan.
Lovely conversation. And the upcoming documentary they mentioned, Sarah McLachlan's new film on her Lilith Fair Music Festival, that is set to premiere on CBC later this year. In the global race to develop and export liquefied natural gas, Canada is making strides.
It's a competitive market. Everybody's fighting for this market share. Not everybody's going to win.
Can Canada bank on LNG to become an energy superpower? That's next. This tanker ship is carrying a Canadian first. It's left northwest BC with an initial shipment of liquefied natural gas, now headed for Asia. This long-awaited export facility made it possible more than a decade in the making. Some experts believe this could be Canada's moment to become a major LNG player. But as Paula Duhatschek explains, others think we've already missed the boat.
It's almost inevitable that Canada becomes a top LNG player.
After years of waiting and dozens of canceled projects, Canada's first liquefied natural gas, or LNG, export facility is finally up and running.
It's quite gratifying to see something's finally come to fruition.
Demand for LNG is growing. There's political will to build major energy infrastructure and several projects in various stages of development.
It means, in one word, prosperity.
Canada has fumbled this opportunity before. It lags far behind the US, the world's largest exporter.
One of the fundamental problems has been it's been very, very difficult to build any kind of energy infrastructure in Canada.
But will it be any different this time around?
I see the politics, I hear the politics, but I just don't see the substance.
You inevitably get resistance. You inevitably get large portions of the population fighting back.
This quiet fishing village on the northwest coast of BC is home to about 500 people. Within a few years, it could have a conspicuous new neighbor. A floating LNG export facility proposed by the Nisga'a Nation of BC.
We see the project not just benefiting for the moment, but in perpetuity.
It will cost more than $20 billion to build the Salisons LNG project and a pipeline to supply the facility. Salisons is one of 7 projects in various stages of development, most with Indigenous partners. If all of them go ahead, Canada could go from exporting 0 tons of LNG to more than 50 million tons per year.
Certainly it makes Canada more of a player on the global stage for natural gas.
There's growing political momentum to build major projects. Both federal and some provincial governments have passed bills aimed at speeding up the approval process.
With a sort of political tide changing somewhat, there's maybe some more ability for governments at all levels to put their support behind some of these projects.
About a decade ago, a few dozen LNG projects were proposed in BC, but almost all were cancelled, facing regulatory hurdles and a crash in commodity prices.
I think a lost opportunity. A lot of these projects fell by the wayside.
Today, Canada has a second chance. Some experts believe demand for natural gas could grow 70 to 80% in the next few decades, and Canada's west coast has a quick route to markets in Asia. But the U.S. is eyeing the same opportunity, including with a potential project in Alaska.
It's a competitive market. Everybody's fighting for this market share. Not everybody's going to win.
The proposed Alaska LNG mega project could cost more than $50 billion to build. It would give another boost to the U.S. LNG industry, which is already the largest exporter in the world.
You have the Secretary of Energy, you have the Governor of Alaska, you have everyone getting together and saying, we want your investment, we'll build fast, we're a reliable exporter, and so you should put your money here.
So it's what I see right now is just rhetoric.
This Conservative MP is also the former chief counsellor of the Haisla Nation. He's skeptical that Canada can reinvent itself as a major LNG player.
I don't think this government is truly sincere in turning Canada into an energy superpower, let alone fast-tracking major projects.
Others caution about rushing into projects without fully considering the possible environmental consequences.
This is one of the rare parts of the world where you can drink from the streams, you can drink from the rivers, and I think that's what people are largely concerned about with the LNG project.
This community, about 300 kilometers up the Skeena River, is a fishing town and boasts itself as the steelhead capital of the world.
It's quiet. It's also a great place to raise your kids because you can just say, if you're bored, go outside and find something to do.
It's also about 15 kilometers from the Prince Rupert gas transmission line. If built, the pipeline would bring natural gas from northeastern BC to the Silicims project on the coast.
I would say this is the calm before the storm right now.
The Niska Nation, for its part, says it's consulting with communities along the route and has struck several deals with other First Nation communities. But community members here say protests are still likely.
There will probably be road blockades. There will be people standing out there saying it's not going to happen here. It probably won't be very pretty.
Climate concerns are another issue. Natural gas can help countries lower emissions by getting off coal, but it is still a fossil fuel.
On a global scale, kind of climate change has dropped down the political agenda a bit, but as I say, I think in the longer term, it's going to be something that people are going to want to address.
That means the clock is ticking if Canada wants to ride the wave of growing LNG demand.
For us, the opportunity for these Canadian projects is really in the next 5 to 10 years, where we see the strongest growth for LNG exports.
As for the Niska Nation, it's determined to get the Silicims project done.
We want our children, their children, and their grandchildren, the future generations of the Niska Nation to benefit and to truly govern ourselves.
She's expecting a final investment decision later this year and is already looking forward to the project's very first shipment as soon as 2029.
It's going to be amazing, and it's going to be bringing a lot of smiles and happiness to our people.
That first shipment of LNG en route to Asia was praised by both the Prime Minister and BC's Premier, emphasizing the importance of diversifying trade at this time of strained relations with the United States. Next, a BC man builds a catapult for cheese curds.
It was a big success, and every event it's been firing every 20 seconds.
His patriotic poutine slinger in our moment. You are looking at Jeremy Gervin, a creative builder based in BC, pictured here as a youngster makes use of his new invention, a cheese curd catapult that flings cheese into a bowl of pretend poutine. The curds, fries, and gravy were fake, but his wooden catapult drew in the crowds, and tonight his nod to a classic culinary dish from Canada makes our moment.
What's your face? I got approached to create a cheese curd flinging device. A French association here asked me to make a functional prop. I looked at what Leonardo da Vinci did or drew and what people try to recreate from his drawings. The cheese curds, I went with a dense memory foam type of foam because it already had a nice similar color. And I wish it was gravy, but we went with water. It was less messy. It was a big success, and the catapult and every event it's been firing every 20 seconds. Most people ask me, how did you do that? And that's exactly what I love to promote more, is people to pick up tools and try and build things. The world is your oyster from there. You can really build everything you can set your mind to. So it's to me, it's great. It's perfect. Oh, joli!
Now, Jeremy, that food was fake, but if you ever use the real stuff, let me know, because I will be on the receiving end of that poutine catapult. Just fling maybe a defibrillator in after it, because I might just need it. That looks a lot of fun. 400 hours over 2 months to to build that catapult. Well, for all of us here at the National, we do want to wish you all a happy Canada Day. Thank you very much for being with us. You can watch on the free CBC News app or the National's YouTube channel. I'm David Common. We'll leave you tonight with another taste of more homegrown patriotism and pride.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land.
This year in particular just means a whole extra bit of love for Canada.
Definitely, we've had to think a lot more about what it is to be Canadian.
Everyone's being so joyful.
Only 2 words. Oh, Canada.
Maple syrup, camping, and fireworks. Happy Canada Day!
We're here to celebrate the great diversity of this nation, family-oriented nation. So we are here to embrace all families as we celebrate our day.
I love so many things about being Canadian, and I feel like I appreciate them so much more now, given what we see down south.
We are so blessed to be here. We are originally from the Philippines, and we are blessed to be Canadians because this is a great country.